is the scrap fabric I'm going to be using with my scrap lining. The length of my fabric is about 23 inches long, and in terms of width, it's actually folded into half. In terms of width, it's about 43 inches long times 2. Anyway, so as you see the tape, that's how long it is. So you multiply that by 2. So it's quite long in terms of width, but the length is about 23 inches. So I believe this should be enough to make what I want. So the brown bit is my lining. It's just going to be for the middle bit, so I'll explain as I go. So let's get sewing. The first thing you're going to do is fold your fabric into half and place this piece on your fabric. This is the second panel piece. So fold it into half, right, and place it this way. So you're going to cut all the way from here, all the way down, all the way there, and all the way back. So, and at the end of the day, you're going to be left with 2 pieces. You have 2 pieces of this. So when you're done cutting this, cut another 2 pieces. So you won't have 4 pieces at the end of the day. So I'm going to do that and be back. So this is what you should have once you're done cutting your 4 pieces. So I have, once I take this out, this is what I have. So I've got 1, 2, and 3 and 4. So we're just going to keep this aside, then we'll cut the middle panel. So guys, the next step is to place your middle panel on your fabric. We need to cut just one of this, right? We're going to cut just one. It's not on fold, it's on the plain. It's on my fabric, just on the one side. So we're going to pin it down like I've done. Then you're going to cut it out. So if you've got large patterns on your fabric, you need to consider how the patterns will match. So I quickly did that before I pinned mine down. Yeah, so something similar to this. So by the time I cut it, at least it should match slightly. So if you've got larger patterns, you need to make sure you put that into consideration before you cut. So I'm going to cut this out and then cut one piece of my. Next step is going to be to cut the middle part of your panel, your front panel. So basically you need to take into consideration your pattern, how they match, how they fit, work it out before you place the middle section. You can always compare with the with these pieces you've cut out. Always do that before you cut. My patterns are quite smaller, so I hope I can get away with it, but I did look at it before I placed my panel down. So you make sure you always try and fit your patterns before you cut. So I'm going to cut one piece of this, then I'm going to cut a similar piece as well from my lining. So I'm going to do that and be back. We're going to take our scissors and cut this slot out. So once we're done cutting it, we'll be done with the front panel, then we'll cut the back panel piece. So once you've pinned down the back section, you just cut it off, and the next bit we'll have to cut off will be the circle skirt. So I'm going to cut this off and show you the next step. So guys, you need to cut yourself 2 pieces of half circle skirts. So this is what I have. That's what I have. That's my half circle. And this is the other half of the circle. So we're going to start putting things together and start stitching. Construct the first piece of the panel. What you're going to do is place down the middle panel, right? This bit, place it down this way. Then grab one of the 4 pieces of this which you've cut, yeah? Place them right sides together. You're going to place it right sides together. Then you're going to start pinning. So you're going to pin it down. Basically, you have to force it to fit the lines. Then this is what you're going to have, yeah? And when you bring it out, you're actually going to stitch it in order to be able to see how it looks. So I'm not going to emphasize that point first until I'm done stitching. So let's turn it back, wrong side, right sides together. So I'm going to sew from there to about here. right? Once I'm done with that, I'll do the second bit as well. So what we're going to do as well is grab another piece, place it right sides together, and pin. Basically just do the same thing you did to the other side. Force it, pin it to fit these curves. Let every point, this point will fit that point, this sharp point here must fit this point. So basically make sure it fits perfectly, then we'll come back. Once you're done stitching, this is what you should have. You can see it's already taking shape. This is the bust area, so that's done. I'm gonna do the same for my lining. So I've got this lining piece here. I'm gonna grab the other two separate panels I've cut out. So I'm going to do the same thing, literally the same thing I did on that side. I'm going to force it to fit that bit, and I'm going to force. Once you have your lining also done and the front bit, you need to place them right sides together. Once you place the right sides together, make sure all the parts are evenly pinned together, like you can see here. So I've got this one and I've got it pinned together, so that's what you should have. Pin them together. So I'm going to place a pin here as well. I'm going to place a pin there. So place a pin there. So the next thing you're going to do is to, hi guys, the next step will be to make the sweetheart shape on the top of the PEPlUM top. So what I've done now is I've folded the top, you know, the line. I attached the lining and my front pieces together, right sides together. Then I pinned it. So now I've folded it into two as well, 2 equal halves, making sure that this point here matches the other point as well. Then I've gone ahead to use a chalk to draw a sweetheart shape. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this part, take out the pin. So taking out the pin, so I'm going to open this up and show you how it looks. So this is what you should have, exactly what you should have. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this to the machine, and I'm going to stitch from here all across there, down here, and all across there to give you the sweetheart shape. Once I've done that, I'm going to snip the edges. I'm going to cut the excess fabric, cut it all the way down, snip the curves in order to make it fold perfectly. Then I'm going to turn it inside out and show you how it looks. I'll be back. So guys, once you're done stitching the top of your PEPlUM, you need to turn it right sides out. And just before you turn it right sides out, you must have seen the picture that showed you where I had to snip the edges, snip all the curves, so that once I turn it out, it's going to be really nice. So, and makes it all this point here, the depression there, go in, and the curve goes in smoothly. So what I did was I turned it out and I took it to my ironing board and I pressed it down. So you want to make sure you press it down. Once you press it down, it looks fantastic. So ensure to press it down. Always iron as you go. Press as you go when you're sewing. It makes your job look a lot more professional. So guys, the next step would be to attach the PEPlUM for this bit. So since I'm going to have seams running on the side of my top, I'm going to attach my PEPlUM for the front, then I'll work on the back piece, then we can now attach it. So the next step would be to attach our PEPlUM. Just before we attach the PEPlUM, you see this point here that is quite longer, so we're going to chop it off and we're going to chop this side off. But to do this and do it perfectly, you need to take this off the dress form, fold it right running here in the middle into 2 equal halves, then you can cut it. So I'm going to do that. So guys, once you fold it into 2 equal halves, just take your scissors and chop it up. I've done that already, so I'm going to get this out of the way. Now the next step is let's attach our PEPlUM. Guys, the next step would be to add the contrast fabric onto the bottom of the PEPlUM just before we attach the PEPlUM to the bodice panel we've created. So what you're going to do in order to be able to get this right is to measure. You have to measure from here all the way round it. When you get the measurement all around it, then you need to cut your contrast fabric. This is the contrast fabric I'm going to be using. So you need to cut the exact length or slightly more so that you don't get it wrong. Maybe add like an inch or two to it. So say for instance, mine is 71 inches all around it. And my contrast fabric is about 75 inches. So you're going to cut 75 inches of two in two places because you have two bits of this half PEPlUM. So I'm going to attach the bottom bit onto the PEPlUM, then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. You can see I've attached it with the pins. I placed it right sides together and I pinned it all the way around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my fabric to my machine and I'm going to sew it all around. So basically I'm going to sew it about here. I'm going to give it this about an inch. Let me see. I'm going to sew it for about an inch. So my thread is going to run, my stitches is going to run from here, so that by the time I fold this down, it's going to show at least quite a lot of it. So I'm going to do that and show you what I did next. So I've stitched my scrap fabric on my PEPlUM cut bottom. So this is one piece of my PEPlUM, and I've gone ahead to snip the sides. So that's it, all snipped so that it lies flat. So I'm going to take this to the ironing board and I'm going to iron it. I'm going to iron it all the way down like this. Then I'll show you what I'll do next. Yep. I've pressed this down and I've gone ahead to serge around the ends of my strap, but the fabric I'm using shreds a lot, so you need to be careful if you're using the fabric that shreds, and endeavor to serge your edges. So I'm going to fold this way. So this is what the reverse side looks like. Open this up for you to see. So this is how the reverse side looks like. So what I'm going to do right now is to basically fold it this way and pin it down. Then at the end of the day I'll have that. So I'm going to do that and show you how it looks. So once you're done pinning it around, this is what you should have. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch. So I'm going to run my stitches right on this point here, very close to the contrasted fabric, just right on it. Try and use a thread that matches the fabric at the bottom here. So I'm going to use like a grayish thread, and I'm going to do that and show you what it looks like. Once you've done running your stitch, so this is, you can see the grayish line running across here, that's my stitch. You're going to attach your PEPlUM to your top. So I'm going to flip this to the back and show you what it's like. So this is what I've done. I've gone ahead to stitch. What I did first was to attach my PEPlUM to my top panel here, right sides together. Then I ran this stitch first. Then after I did that, I serged the edges here. So now I've pinned it down towards the top panel, and what I'm going to do is take either a yellow thread. I think I'm going to use a yellow thread just to make it more decorative. So I'm going to use a yellow thread and I'm going to run a stitch right on here, straight all the way down, just to secure. I'm going to try and secure this bit facing that way. So I'm going to do that and I'll be back. So guys, the next step will be to attach the back piece. So what we're going to do now is to stitch our darts. So I've got my darts here, so I'm going to sew my darts. Once I sew my darts, I'm going to fold this bit twice and stitch it down, right? Fold it twice and stitch it down. Then I'll show you the next step. Next step will be to attach your PEPlUM to the back panel of your top. So that's the back panel. I've stitched it right across there, and now I've attached my PEPlUM. Basically it's being held with pins, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch it, then I'll show you the next step. So guys, once you've attached your PEPlUM to your top, to the top panel, what you want to do is I'll show you. You need to serge the edges just like I've done and turn it facing the top part of your top and stitch it right down. So this is what I've done. I've stitched it right on here like a top stitch basically. So now the next step will be to attach both sides together. So guys, this is the finished product. I've attached both sides, and I've remember I mentioned I was going to attach my zip on one side, so that's my zip attached to the side. It's an invisible zip. So I've tried as much as possible to clean all my seams, stitch them, turn them around. This is what I've done to this bit. So that's it. So I'm going to turn this blouse right sides out and show you what it looks like. So guys, that's what it looks like when you turn it right sides out. So I'm all done. I hope you share your video or your pictures of what you make.